You are not unstable, you are not broken, and you are not being pushed around by fate. You are experiencing life through a structure you have never been taught to examine. Perhaps you feel anxious without clear cause. Perhaps your motivation rises and falls unpredictably. Perhaps you sense that external events dictate your inner state more than you would like to admit. In this conversation, I want to show you something precise. You will understand what the first Hermetic principle truly means when it states in the Kybalion that the all is mind, the universe is mental. And more importantly, you will understand how this principle explains your anxiety, your inconsistency, and your sense of inner instability. Before we go further, if you value calm, serious explorations of the structure of the mind, not hype, not slogans, consider subscribing. These discussions build carefully, layer by layer. Now let us proceed slowly. Most people interpret the statement, "the universe is mental," in a mystical or exaggerated way. They imagine it means that the physical world is unreal, or that one can simply wish circumstances into existence. That is not what is being said. The teaching is structural. It is describing the field in which your experience occurs. You do not live directly in the external world. You live in your interpretation of it. Pause with that. The event itself is one thing. Your experience of the event is another. Two individuals lose the same opportunity. One becomes embittered. The other becomes disciplined. If the event itself created the inner state, both reactions would be identical, but they are not. Why? Because the event is external. The experience is mental. In Thought Vibration, Atkinson writes that man sees things not as they are, but as he is. That is not poetic language. It is psychological description. The mind is not a passive mirror. It is an active organizer, and what organizes shapes. Consider your anxiety about the future. The future does not yet exist, and yet it can dominate your physiology, your sleep, your mood. How? Because the experience of the future occurs as mental imagery. Your body reacts to imagined scenarios as though they were present realities. You are not suffering from the future. You are responding to constructed thought forms. The universe is mental. This does not deny the outer world. It explains the medium through which you access it. You never encounter raw reality. You encounter perception, and perception is filtered through habit. Here is where many people become uncomfortable. If your experience is mental, then your suffering is not solely imposed upon you. This is not blame, it is structural clarity. In Mind Power, Atkinson emphasizes directed thought, not as fantasy, but as disciplined attention. Every repeated thought strengthens a pathway. Every rehearsed fear deepens a groove. Every repeated self-criticism reinforces identity. The mind operates through consolidation. Repetition becomes inclination. Inclination becomes temperament. Temperament shapes experience, and all of it occurs within the mental field. You may feel stuck, but stuck in what? Usually you are stuck in a pattern of interpretation. The same event occurs. You interpret it through the same lens. You experience the same emotional reaction. Then you call it destiny. But it is habit. You wake in the morning already anticipating problems. You mentally replay yesterday's awkward conversation. You imagine next week's possible failure. Then you wonder why your energy feels diminished. Observe the sequence. Thought precedes state. State precedes action. Action produces result. The universe is mental. Your results are downstream from dominant thought patterns. If this perspective is helping you think more clearly about your own mind, subscribe. These ideas require repetition. Understanding deepens with revisiting. Now let us go further. The first Hermetic principle does not grant omnipotence. It assigns responsibility. You cannot control every external condition, but you can examine the quality of thought you sustain. Mental vibration, as Atkinson uses the term, refers not to mysticism, but to tone. Fear has a tone. Resentment has a tone. Clarity has a tone. Deliberate focus has a tone. You can feel the difference in your body. When your thinking is scattered, your energy fragments. When your thinking is concentrated, your energy aligns. This is observable. The problem is not that you lack strength. The problem is that your attention is undisciplined, and undisciplined attention produces unstable experience. The majority attempt to change circumstances first. They rearrange environment, relationships, schedules. Yet they carry the same interpretive structure into every new setting, and so the pattern repeats. In Mental Influence, Atkinson writes of the power of trained thought as an instrument, but an instrument unused remains blunt. Most people never consciously train the mind. They simply inherit thought habits from family, culture, past emotion. Then they call that inheritance who I am. But you are not your automatic thought stream. You are the one capable of directing it. There is a difference. You have impulses, but you also have will. You have reactions, but you also have attention. The moment you begin observing thought rather than drowning in it, something shifts. You move from being carried to steering. Now let us make this practical. If the universe is mental, your first discipline is observation. Not suppression, not denial. Observation. When anxiety appears, ask, what image am I sustaining? What narrative am I repeating? What conclusion am I rehearsing? Then examine whether that repetition is necessary. You may discover that much of your suffering is rehearsal. You are practicing distress, and practice strengthens. To alter experience, you alter repetition. Choose a more constructive interpretation, not one disconnected from reality, but one oriented toward clarity and action. Repeat it deliberately. At first it feels artificial, because habit resists displacement, but habit yields to persistence. Understand this clearly. You cannot think one disciplined thought and undo years of unconscious pattern, but you can begin. Concentration is not dramatic, it is quiet. 5 minutes of sustained directed thought daily is more transformative than hours of scattered rumination. You strengthen what you focus on, you weaken what you starve. That is structure. Perhaps you're realizing something uncomfortable. Many of your recurring struggles are internally maintained, not intentionally, but mechanically. The first Hermetic principle does not accuse you, it explains you. You are living in a mental universe shaped by repeated thought. Change the dominant thought pattern, and your experienced world reorganizes. Not magically, gradually, predictably. If this conversation has brought clarity, and you would like to continue studying the architecture of the mind in a serious way, subscribe. These reflections are not isolated ideas, they form a system. Let us close with something sober. Most people attempt to fight themselves. They attempt to overpower emotion through force. They attempt to silence fear through distraction. Few ever study the structure of their own thought. The universe is mental. But that does not mean you control everything. It means your experience is organized within thought. And if you do not direct thought deliberately, it will direct you automatically. Your anxiety is not proof of weakness. It is evidence of undirected mental repetition. Your inconsistency is not lack of character. It is fragmented attention. Your feeling of being stuck is not fate. It is sustained interpretation. You may continue reacting, or you may begin studying. Most will continue reacting. A few will observe. Fewer still will train the mind deliberately. The difference between them is not talent. It is willingness to examine the invisible. The universe is mental. The question is simple. Are you a passive resident within it, or a conscious participant in shaping the quality of your own experience? That inquiry is not mystical. It is psychological, and it does not end here. It begins the moment you decide to watch your own thinking with seriousness. Sit with that, not emotionally, but carefully, because the structure you examine is the structure through which you live.